Cool. So this is the admin view. If I was an owner or an admin of an account, this is what I'm going to see. But it's pretty much what a user would also see. The only thing that a user wouldn't see is if I, let's say, scroll down, I won't see an option that says add a new channel, because obviously users don't have access to add channels. So this is essentially the launch page or the home page of the community. It's pretty much like a basic feed, like on any social media platform. So you have the option to post stuff over here, and you can just select what channel you want to post it in. So the way the platform works is whenever you want to post something, you have to post it on a particular channel. There's no default channel that it goes to. So wherever you would like to post something in, you basically just click on that and it directly gets posted on the channel, and it also appears on the community feed. Community feed is essentially like a collection of posts from all different channels that you have access to. If you don't have access to a particular channel, you obviously won't see the post that is being done on that particular channel. For a little bit of granularity, there are 3 ways that you can actually sort this feed. You can do latest, top, and trending. The main difference between top and trending is top is like top of all time, and trending is like for a limited amount of time, let's say a week or 2, what is trending right now. So I can just click on any post and I can basically expand it, and I can click on the links. If there's an image, that image will load. I can comment like a normal user. I can comment, a GIF as well, and so on. So pretty standard stuff, pretty similar to like a LinkedIn or a Twitter or any social media platform that you guys are already used to. It's almost like an infinite scroll. It basically scrolls until the first post has been reached. On the left side, you can basically see the channel picker. That's what we call it. If you guys are familiar using Discord, it's very similar to that. You have different kinds of channels. Different kinds of channels are used for different purposes. An easy way to identify what kind of a channel it is by looking at the icons. So pretty self-explanatory. This is like the audio and the video channel. This is a forum channel. This is a chat channel. This is a calendar channel, and so on and so on. In addition to this, we have a Zoom channel as well. So if you don't like the stage that's already built on the platform, and if you'd rather prefer a more easier and more familiar way in order to have meetings, you can directly schedule it on Zoom, and you can attend one of those meetings on Zoom as well. So I see that you've created multiple channels. I'd just like to show all of you all the different kinds of channels that are there. Okay. We have a lot of features. So at some point, it is going to be overwhelming. So I just want to put that out as a disclaimer. So if you have any questions or any confusion, or if you want to know how to do a particular thing, feel free to ask. So the descriptions are pretty straightforward. Like I said, stages for events. You have audio and video. You can have up to about 4 to 8 people on a video screen live, and everyone else. On audio, you can have unlimited people. So it's also like a clubhouse. One thing that we are going to do in the next 1 or 2 months is we actually build a very new stage called the streaming channel. The only difference between the streaming channel and the stage channel is it uses different servers in the backend. So the stage channel is essentially going to be converted into something called as a voice bubble. A voice bubble is very similar to Clubhouse. So if I want to come in and if I want to start a voice room, I can just spontaneously start that and collapse it as it is over there. So it's very similar to Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse. So that's what's coming up over here in the next 1 or 2 months. Calendar is where you schedule your events. So if I want to schedule an event, I can choose what channel I want to host that event in. I can choose stage, or I can choose Zoom, or I can choose streaming, wherever I prefer. Or if I want to add a Google Meet link, I can do that. If I want to add a Google location, I can do that as well. Forum is essentially like your classic Reddit forum, where you can just post things on text. You can format it as however you like it. You can also add images. You can also add native uploaded videos. So if you have a video that you would like to upload from your phone, you can do that. So that's what forum's about. Media is kind of like an older cousin of forum. It's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that media is not a channel that's typically accessible to members. The whole idea of media when we were building it out was that it should be curated content from the admin side. So only admins can actually create things on media. So you can sort of think of this as your own blog engine. You can put newsletter articles over here, and whatever serious long form content that you'd like to share, you can do that using the media channel. Text is like your WhatsApp group chat. The interface also looks very similar. So we've tried to replicate that in some way. Of course, you won't find every single functionality that's there on WhatsApp, but all the basics like replying to a message and what do you say, sending GIFs and stuff like that are there. Zoom, pretty straightforward. Schedule meetings on Zoom. Embed is a pretty cool channel. Embed is essentially like, it's basically an iframe for the ones who are here in the meeting who are not developers. An iframe is basically like, so if I want to embed a website within my community, I can basically do that. If I want to show an existing website that has open access elsewhere, whatever website it is, I can basically just put the link, and within my community screen, instead of this whole channel picker, I'll basically get to see the entire website itself. So you can embed whatever website you want within your community platform. So that way you have everything you want from everywhere else within Scenes itself. So that's essentially the channel picker. Now, going back, let's explore what's on the right side. So here you essentially see whatever items you have bookmarked. I don't think there's anything bookmarked over here. We have a leaderboard, which essentially shows you how many coins you basically have gathered over a period of time. I can see that Dave is topping the leaderboard. If you want to see how to actually get these coins, I'll just go over here. And this is how the coin system has been made. So if I invite a friend onto this platform, so since this is going to be a developer relations community, the standard expectation would be to add your developer friends onto this community. So if I'm a dev and I invite a friend, I get 100 coins. That's the most number of coins that I can actually score. I think the scoring system needs to be revisited a little, since a lot of things are still unmarked, but I think it's still a work in progress. But these are the action items that you guys can basically get rewarded on. So if I post something, if I get 5 likes, I instantly get X number of coins. If I attend an event, I get X number of coins. Now, answers marked desktop is basically very similar to like a Quora or a Reddit, wherein if I have a question, I can basically put a tag to it called question. And if I get like 5 different answers, I can choose what answer I really like and which person I want to award the top answer to, and I can just choose that person, and that person will basically get X number of coins. It's a simple way to make the community more engaging in terms of people talking to each other, people helping out each other in terms of things. Currently, the way you can redeem these coins, like let's say that I collected 1,000 coins. Now, what do I do with these 1,000 coins? We have something called a shop, which is over here. Yeah, I just have to integrate one of these payment systems. And essentially, what is currently possible on the platform is you can buy roles with these shops. Now, that's a nice segue to get into roles and what roles really are. So the whole platform basically functions on the roles and permission system. In simple words, essentially what that means is you have access to certain places, but you don't have access to certain places. That's how the community functions. So let's say that somewhere down the line, you introduce a new channel type called a premium developer channel. Like maybe you introduce a subscription fee for it, or you want to start a premium newsletter for these developers. So what I can do is in my shop, I can list a product saying that premium member access. And that essentially, when I buy that product, I get a role, which is a tag, very similar to Discord tags. And that role gives me access in order to view the premium developer channel. Anyone who does not have that role cannot view that. So just giving you guys an insight on how roles are managed. By default, there are 3 roles: as admin, guest, and member. I think the member name has been changed over here. But by default, whenever you come into the community, you are a member, you get all these basic permissions. And let's actually explore one of these things. Let's go to marketer and let's see what access a marketer has. Right. So a marketer can actually see only the parent community. Admin only channel, of course, is hidden. The build team channel is also hidden. Marketing team is a manager in the marketing channel, obviously. So that essentially means that that person can, delete posts, edit posts, and ban members and things like that. So in that particular channel, they have the power, but in every other channel, they're basically like a participant. Now, I mentioned the term called sub-community when I said that they only have visibility to Peerplays. So the way the platform is built is that you have one community, which is like a parent community, and you have, okay, I don't think there are multiple sub-communities over here. Okay, I think groups are not enabled. Yeah, so they're not enabled, but the whole purpose that it solves is, let's just enable it, and let me just enable it and show you. Yeah, so here, yeah, okay, so you guys have created it, but it's been hidden. Yeah, so here there are multiple sub communities. So it's like a community within a community. So this is the big umbrella community, and everything else comes below it. So if you want to segregate things for different teams, and you want to keep this left sidebar very uncluttered, because let's say there are 7 teams, that means you need to create 7 different categories, and then you need to create multiple different channels within those 7 different categories, and that just creates a lot of clutter. And if you don't want to do that, you can just create a separate sub community, and you can just give that particular person special access to that sub community. So you can have one for marketing, you can have one for sales, you can have one for tech, you can have one for premium members, etc., etc. And you can choose who to give access to a certain sub community and who to not give access to a certain sub community. So that's essentially how the whole platform is completely based on the roles and permission system. It's about who has access to what and who doesn't have access to what. That's a simple way that you can think about it. Here you can essentially see the number of people who are there in your community. It's just a simple member list of what's actually available. Sorry, just keep that off as well. Okay. Then we have the DM system, which is like your classic DM. You can just start a conversation with someone. If you're not following them, you basically get it in your requests, very similar to Instagram. You have the classic search bar. You can search for anything. All keywords are searchable. A lot of sub-communities are also searchable. One more feature that I'd like to dive into is the labels, which is a pretty new feature that we've come up with. So labels are like tags. So let's say that I want to post something. If it's a question, I basically add a question tag, which tells people that, hey, this post is essentially a question. Now, another way you can actually put it to use is, since you're building a developer community and you want to, let's say, have different tags about different languages. So you can have a tag called React. You can have a tag called React Native. You can have a tag called Ruby on Rails, etc., etc. And whatever that question is directed towards, you can basically add those tags. Users can't create their own tags. It's up to the admin to actually add these tags, and users can basically choose from the list of tags that are already available. Okay, that's it about the user side of the feature list. Now, I'll walk you through a few interesting admin side features, just so that you guys know what the platform is basically capable of. So if you want to assign someone a role, so like I said, roles is essentially how you get access to different parts of the community. So if I as an admin want to give people access to a certain side of the community, you basically just click on the plus, you click on whatever role you want to give them, and that's about it. If you want to download the data of all your members, you can do that over here. That essentially gives you their onboarding details, which is basically their first name, last name, phone number, and email address. And this is a feature that is restricted to owners only. Even if you give someone an admin role, which essentially gives them ability to manage the platform on some level, they still won't be able to get the data. So there's one and only one person who can actually get access to the data for obvious security reasons. So that's how you can do that. You can change the appearance over here. You can change the colors. You can change the colors of the button. You can change the fonts. You can change your images, etc., etc. There are 2 different layouts for how the chat channel is. So WhatsApp, Telegram is usually like left, right. Slack is usually like just one side. Invite is a pretty cool feature. So it kind of reduces manual effort on onboarding people. So let's say that you had some kind of event only for React developers, right? and you have made the special sub community or special category just for React people to interact. But in order to give them access to that channel and in order to restrict access channel for everyone else, you will need to manually go and assign that role to everyone else, which is kind of time taking. So a simple way you can do that is you can generate an invite link. You can call it whatever you want. You can set an expiration date. You can set a maximum number of people, and you can by default assign a role to that particular person. So, and that generates a link essentially that comes over here. I'll just quickly actually just do it. Hey, let's give this person a marketer role. Right. So now if I just shared this link to that person, whenever they actually join the platform with this link, or even if they're already a member and if they open the platform with this link, they are automatically assigned that role, which gives them access to that particular channel. This is also a pretty cool thing. It's custom CSS. So in appearance, there are a few defined things that you can change. Like I can change the color of the button. I can change a few fonts from the list that I have over here. Very basic kind of features. But with custom CSS, you can go very crazy with it. You can write CSS code. So essentially, this is a web app. And you can write CSS. You can play with a lot of things. You can style the boxes. You can add a border to it. You can make it look. You can add a little bit of drop shadow to it. So you can make it look really cool using the custom CSS part. This is again one time. I don't think this is something that needs to be looked into. Webhook is again a very developer-only thing. So we have webhooks for a bunch of things like getting user data and also pushing out notifications. So if at all at some point you guys need access to this, this is the place where you can get it from. This is pretty self-explanatory. What else? All right, cool. So essentially, what notification preferences does is it is an admin side thing where you can choose what notifications your users should get. So we have two different sections. One is for email and one is for mobile push. So if I don't want users to get a notification when a new forum is posted, so I can just disable it. And we have this for multiple actions, and the admin can decide when the user basically gets a kind of a notification. Let's go back to this. I'll get this one looked into. Mobile theming engine is essentially, so you guys have a mobile app as well. Now, whatever changes that I make, let's say using CSS, is not going to reflect on mobile because that's built on a completely different code base and a different kind of an environment, and that doesn't work on CSS. So here, you can basically, if you want to change certain things in the mobile app, you can use this as a mobile theming engine where you can change different colors and button colors, etc., etc. I think this will be the last thing. Yeah. So this is something called an onboarding form. So let's say that you would like to keep your community gated and you don't want anyone and everyone to just openly join the community. So this is a feature that can be used to gate access to the community. So you can add mobile verification as well, which actually gets their mobile number, and it's like an OTP verification system. If you turn on gatekeeping, that essentially means that they have to answer a few questions. You guys have already created a simple form over here. And once you answer those questions, the admin will get applications on this new application panel, and they can choose whether to accept or reject that applicant. So that way, you basically gate the access of the community to whoever is the new member that's actually entering this. So I can view anyone's application just by clicking the view, and I can accept or decline, and they'll get an email saying that, hey, you've been accepted, or hey, you've not been accepted, etc., etc. If you want, you can create a new role as well. So let's say that I want to create a new role called, so earlier I spoke about the whole React thing. So let's say you had an event and you created this React kind of a sub-community within this main community. So I can just create a role called React, and I can just edit their permissions in such a way so that they only get access to that particular channel or that particular kind of community or whatever that is. And you can create as many roles as you want. You can create as many channels as you want. You can create as many categories as you want. And Yep. I guess that should cover it all. There's one thing that I might have missed out. Yeah, so here I basically get all my notifications. It's essentially like a notification kind of a, what do you say? It's a notification box. And one thing that we're currently working on for the Peerplays community is to enable desktop notifications, since every developer uses their computer rather than their phone. So that is also another feature that is currently in progress, which where just like Slack, you'll essentially get a desktop notification, or like your Gmail, etc., etc. If you want to go into a sub community, it's pretty similar to the main community. It's just that it has its own feed. So whatever is in the main community won't come over here. So that's the way we kind of gate the content from between one community to the other. I guess that's about it. I hope that was not too complicated, and open for questions. Feel free to just unmute and ask me.
I have a question. So is there a way to set the settings for email notifications? So I've had it where like I would create an event, for instance, and then I only wanted certain people within that channel to join the event, but the entire organization would get notified. So how do we set email notification settings?
Okay, so let me just share my screen again. Right. So these are the two notifications that are available for creating an event. So when a new calendar event is created, the person gets a notification, and the second one is a reminder, which is like 5 to 10 minutes before the event, they get an email notification. But the reminder only goes out to people who has RSVP for the event. So once you create an event, you basically get an option that says, yes, I'm interested, no, I'm not interested. So if I've clicked on yes, I'm interested, then you basically get an email notification for the calendar event. Does that answer it?
Yeah, I guess we just needed that notification preferences to work on our build.
Yeah.
Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, the notification bug was identified and brought up with scenes in the QA spreadsheet, but no action was taken. I just have one question. When it comes to earning coins, will we be able to add custom methods for coin earnings in the future?
Currently, no, we're not looking at that, at least for the next 3 to 4 months. But if you have any suggestions so we are currently adding a few more things to it. There is some work that is actually going into it. So if you have any suggestions on what are the events that you would like, I'll bring it up in one of the product discussions that we're having when we talk about that particular feature. But it will still be predefined. The admin still won't have the ability to like create an event like you do on Mixpanel or so.
Yes, Sid, it's Michael. Thank you for a great presentation. Earlier, you mentioned the phrase developer relations community. Do you have examples of organizations who have nailed that component of their scenes usage? Just a couple of organization names that we could go and take a look at, because I think that's really key in terms of defining what the platform is really there for.
Got it. I mean, we don't have anyone who's there within scenes, but what I can do is I can just send you a few examples over an email after this call.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
I guess just one more question. So what would you say were your biggest learnings in building a big scenes community, if you can break it down into like simple steps?
Right. So one thing that I've seen across all communities is the first few months. So a lot of people, what people generally expect out of an activity like this is like they basically set up something and then it just sort of goes on autopilot. That's a myth, because usually communities require a lot of engagement, at least for the first few months. So there's a lot of spoon feeding that needs to be done in the first 3 to 4 months with the audience. You have to sort of engage them in certain activities. There need to be certain kind of action points that are very clearly defined, because unless there is a culture in the community that's already set, so every community has its own culture. Like it's almost like a club. And club has its own kind of practices, it has its own kind of identity, and the important thing is to nail that identity and set those processes in motion, so that when someone comes into the community, they get a feeling that, oh, this is a cool place to be, and this is a nice place to be. And the job of a community manager is essentially to take that person to their aha moment as fast as possible. It can be connecting with other developers or getting help on writing your code or something like that, or maybe it can be certain webinars that you guys host which are pretty informative. So that kind of a moment needs to be curated very clearly and very consistently in the first few months. So one major, and this kind of tops every other action point that I can ever say in terms of community running, it's all about engagement, and it's all about these kind of action points that you take in the first 1 month in order, sorry, not 1 month, like 3 to 4 months in order to set that culture. So do as many events as you can, have as many challenges and competitions as you can. Treat it as like a fun place where people can just hang out and talk to each other and connect over things. Essentially like, one of those gaming servers on Discord where people can just, come in at 4 a.m. in the morning and just talk to someone else and connect over certain things, etc., etc. So if you nail this in the first 4 months, then after that, you can start thinking about running the community on autopilot. Then essentially the way forward would be find the most active users who are already there in your community. We usually call them power users. So find your power users and then sort of incentivize them in order to take up the managerial role, so that the community manager can, just be like the quality assurance person or a crisis solving kind of a person whenever there's a crisis in the community.
Yeah, just a quick question. I'm sorry if you might have mentioned this already, but I just wanted to make sure I got it. What, in using the Scenes platform, where have you seen in its application, where have you seen it most successful? In other words, like in terms of like being able to gain the most traction for engagement, which feature seems to be the most important? Like you have forums, you have the stage, and you have all these different things. Which part of it seems to be where you gain, I guess, the most engagement from the community, and I guess the most growth is what I'm curious about.
Got it. So I'll answer that in two parts. Number one is, what are the kinds of communities that have been performing really well in terms of member growth? So we've majorly seen two kinds of communities that have done really well on Scenes. Like there are communities who have started from zero and gone all the way up to 6,000-7,000 members in the course of 6-8 months. So most of these are based, there are two categories over here. Number one is EdTech. So this can be like a virtual campus. So let's say that I'm a company that has a lot of courses on something. So the community essentially becomes my virtual campus. It becomes the virtual space. It's like a virtual college space where people can hang out. So these guys do activities, like they obviously have their lessons and tutorials over here. But in addition to that, they also host all these kind of community events like like a game night or a quiz night and things like that, in order to have fun and simulate that college life online. So that's number one. Number two is creator-led communities. Creator-led communities is like, let's say you have a creator who's on YouTube, like Mr. Beast or someone like that, and they want to create a community for all their followers. So one example that I can give is that we have one of India's biggest finance creators. His name is Sharan. He's got 2 million followers on Instagram, 2 million subs on YouTube, and has been doing pretty well since the last 2-3 years. So Sharan uses his community to actually share so his community is a paid community. So basically people pay a certain amount of money to get into the community, and they get subscription for, let's say, a year. And essentially what they get access to is his course materials or his daily finance tips and things like that. So no matter what niche of creator you are in, essentially, if you want to engage with your audience, Scenes plays a major role over here. Now, to come to the second part, which is in both of these examples, what is the feature that has actually been working for most of these people in order to get their engagement up and running? That's essentially the live stage part of the platform. So this is also a learning that we saw when we built the Discord community back in 2020. It's that events have been a major driving force for all kinds of community, because it gives people a very tangible way to look at the community. If I am interacting with someone on a forum post, that might work on a platform like Reddit and Quora, because those are purely text-based forums and the whole culture is built on text. But when you look at platforms like Discord and Scenes, essentially where all the engagement happens is in the voice channels. So events where people can interact with each other, talk to each other. So the more number of events you do, the more engagement your community has. And that's been one of the pivotal parts of having this kind of engagement. And also when you add the coin system to it, people obviously want to redeem these coins somewhere. They want to keep collecting these coins and see what happens with them.
Okay, sorry. What that last comment you said about the coins, how was that used? In what application was that used? In relation to
Redeeming it?
yeah.
So we have someone who had integrated a third-party solution called ZozoDay. So ZozoDay, essentially what they do is they are a specialized platform for redeeming rewards. So we have APIs for the coins. So with the API, I can basically get how much balance someone has in their wallet, and I can also deduct a certain amount, and I can also add a certain amount. We have 3 APIs for that. So using this API communication, they basically communicate to the other part, which is the rewards redeeming part, and they list their reward products over there, and essentially they can just exchange these coins for whatever product they want to sell.
Okay. And have you found, I'm sorry, you said that for attending these, I think I heard this right. For attending the events and whatnot, they would earn coins to be able to then redeem for these sorts of things. Is that right?
Yeah.
And what was the result of that? Did you find a difference between not offering coins versus offering coins in terms of attendance and in terms of a lot of people would tend to believe that, if you just bribe people to come, they're only there for the coins and not there for the community. And in crypto, that's a big problem. So what have you found has been the results of that? Because it tends to be, people are there just for the carrots, they're not there for the community, and then they just don't care. They'll just disappear as soon as the coins disappear.
Right. I haven't seen a case of people disappearing with the coins as the coins disappear, since we don't really have like any of these active crypto communities. But one trend that I can sort of see is all the communities that are doing really well on Scenes, all of them pretty extensively use coins. But I also cannot say with complete certainty that if you don't use coins, your community is not going to function or something like that. But it's just that the examples that are out there of communities that are doing well are all using them.
So I guess it's important to understand, a little bit about how they are using them. I mean, my guess is, from what you just described, if the coins are being used for redeeming some kind of a merch or something like that, they can come to maybe one event, but the coins they get aren't going to amount to anything, unless they come to another thing, or maybe if they engage. And then after enough engagements, then maybe they can get a free coffee mug with the logo.
Exactly. So you'll have to gamify the system in a way that a person has to spend X amount of time before they actually get something of real value. So that's basically the community manager's job, to set that gamification system so that it's not very riggable.
Right. Okay. Good. Yeah. So that's primarily my questions. Thank you.
Awesome.
Sorry, I got another question.
Go for it.
So I just asked you about what was the best, what have you seen that's the best? Tell me about the disasters. Tell me about the communities that failed to grow because they took a certain different approach, if you can. Basically, tell me what not to do.
Got it. So there was one community. I won't like name the company or something, but essentially what they were trying to curate was they were basically offering they were basically a community of like researchers who are into like finance and things like that. And I was recommending multiple times on doing events and sort of manually curating the community, but essentially what they ended up doing was just, whatever was there on their website, they just reposted it on the community, and they just kind of used it as a forum only platform. They never really interacted with it in a very human way, wherein they would do events or they would, talk about lighter things. It was all too serious in terms of just talking about what the community was all about. So they did not get any engagement at all, and they kind of left this whole project probably like 2-3 months once they were into it. So yeah, that the classic example. I think that kind of validates that why events and doing things in the community, which is not just centered on its core value, but also lighter things around it. Like if you want to do a developer community, just posting tips on how to write better code would not work. You would also have to, write lighter things like 5 crazy habits of every React developer, or things that are very light and things that are fun and things that people can laugh and talk and bond about. Because essentially that's why people would stick to a community for a long time. Because if I want to just get resources, I can always go to Google and YouTube. People join community for other people, and to make that connection is very important. So in that particular community, connections were not made. Nobody was really facilitating that, and as a result, they just died out.
This reminds me of this idea of like curating your own magazine. It's like the ideas and the things and the needs that orbit around the ideal community member, and providing those kind of valuable elements, even if it's not like the number one primary thing. Like that other stuff that keeps it fun and makes it a reason to go there instead of just Googling the answer.
Exactly. I mean, like I have been a user in a lot of communities more than I've been a manager in communities. And what I've seen is what keeps me going back to that community is never really how the community helped me answer a certain question or something. It's probably like a friend or two that I made over there, or someone who I had a 4 a.m. chat with, or someone who I shared music with, or something like that. And regardless of what the niche of your community is, that's always going to be the reason why people always come back to it. So creating that culture becomes very critical. It's not an option to not create that kind of a culture.
So would you say posting memes or something like that might be helpful?
Yes, for sure. That's a very good practice that's been working in a lot in all the successful communities, actually. There is a meme zone where people just post memes and comment on it.
Okay. Good to know.
This brought up a question for me, which is, have you seen like a minimum community size before you can kind of let off the gas, because basically there's a certain amount of, extra high effort to make it engaging and interesting at the beginning. And then at some point there's enough user generated content that it's less like a full-time activity to create this cool space, to like curate this magazine, as it were. Is there a certain number of people where you see like, okay, at this point, the total management ratio switches, like at the beginning, it's a really super full time, but at what point, is there a certain number of users where that starts to happen, or a certain engagement level where that starts to happen?
Got it. See, there's no standard one size fits all model over here. Like I know 50-member community that are extremely engaging, but I also know 2,000-member community where it's completely dead. So honestly, here again, the emphasis comes in the culture. So how you set the culture, and see, at the initial days, the community manager's job will be very packed because they will be the showrunner of the community. It is a full-time job. It is a very demanding thing in order to, because you're not essentially, it's not like you're doing performance marketing where you're looking at a few numbers and you're sort of making decisions, because if you really want to build that kind of a community, you have to kind of understand the subtler parts of it. Like you need to know what the feel of the community is like. You'll have to use more than the analytical senses that you have. And if you get that part right, then regardless of what the size of a community is, it will just keep engaging by itself. But I don't really have a number that you can have before it kind of explodes or something like that. But one thing is, once the number crossed to, let's say, anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000, that's a good time to start automating certain things. Because even 500, like even if you have 500 members, that's a good time to start thinking about running the community on autopilot, because now you will have enough power users to actually delegate things that now you had to do. So if I were to give an example, when we started our Discord community, we were doing events over there every single day. Our team, we used to go on the Discord server and we used to basically give talks on certain things, like whatever people were interested in, marketing, design, AI, etc., etc. And whoever were the subject matter experts in those just used to go and give talks, and that's how we used to manage. Now, once the community crossed like about 5,000 members, what we did was we already had a bunch of people who are very active in the community. And naturally, when a community becomes more populated, you will see that some people are more popular than the others. There's a social status hierarchy that's naturally formed within the community. And some people are kind of more active and they're looked up to. So we just picked the popular folks in the community and we sort of told them, hey, listen, would you like to give a talk next Friday to these people? And more often than not, they'd say yes, because what we are giving them is distribution. They have access to 2,000 people that are going to listen to them for the next 30 minutes. And that's great for anyone who wants to build a personal brand of themselves. And if that talk went well, and if people really liked it, and if the engagement and turn up of that talk was high, we basically gave them a regular slot. We were like, hey, Fridays is your thing. You run the show on Fridays. So we found a person for every single day of the week, and that way we did not really have to run the show anymore. And the show was being run by the members itself. And they were more than happy to do it because the community was growing. We scaled it up to 55,000 members eventually. So in a way, they also kind of grew with the community, and our audience became their audience as well. So they were also incentivized enough to actually do something like that in a serious manner.
Thank you so much, Sid.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Play around with the
Thank you, Vlad.
platform and try figuring out things here and there as well. That would be final note. And hope you guys have fun with the platform.